guys, minions, and don't worry about the cameras. I think they're all correct. Welcome to unMadeGaming. We are here for our Patreon one-shot. No, Patreon campaign. Hot damn. Guys, my streaming thing was broken a minute ago. This is part 2. So we are live for our Patreon campaign using the Monty Cook Games Cypher system. This one is called Gods of the Fall, and this campaign is called The Rise. The Rise of what? Possibly some new gods. But that's that. That's then. This is now. If you guys like what we do here and you want to support the channel, the best way to do that is over on our Patreon. Link down below, just like these fine faces that you see here before you. While you're down there, click on that Discord link. Join us in the Discord. Be a part of the community. Be a part of the conversation. And as always, in the bottom right-hand corner, you will see the corruption bar. That bar serves two purposes. One is when that bar fills, I do whatever the hell I want to these wonderful players as I see before you. And two, every single dollar that goes into that bar goes back to this channel to do all kinds of things like hire Gnome, who just raided us. Thanks, Gnome. Without further ado, previously on The Rise, he says, looking to the left, trying to find his notes. The caravan buttoned up camp and continued along the ravine known as Sia's Pass, finally making its way to the city of Samora as the sun began to sink below the horizon. The city is alive with revelry. A parade marches down the street that divides the city into two sections, the Nightlands and the Ruinscape. Despite the fact that reconciliators can be spotted in almost every direction, the group finds respite within the Temple of Adherence, each taking a moment to themselves. We cut to a quick scene over at the Seydlitz estate, where we begin with a small young child, a small girl, hugging her uncle and saying, "What's that?" and trying to reach up at the shining symbol above his head that only she appears to be able to see. We cut to some nonchalant shrugging off from Seydlitz, and a dinner is held where everyone is gathered around the table. The children ask questions. There is one that is attached to him at all times. And finally, a familial bedtime. Camera cuts back across the city as the revelry dies down, as the parade comes to an end, and inside an old church where we find Korax, Mina, and Antares. Korax, you are knelt before an old statue or old area that was once dedicated to Xenia, the Earth Shaker. What are you doing?
Korax, looking for my notes, is praying to Xenia for some sort of sign that the old gods still exist. His faith was shaken by his new godling friend Mina being able to respond to his prayers, prompted by Sia in the tavern. So his faith is a little bit shaken. And he's looking for a sign from the old gods that they still exist.
Are you saying anything in particular?
Nothing in particular. It's just that, really. He's looking for a sign.
Cool. Don't worry. In my notes, I have what you're asking. So you kneel down at this statue. And you begin to mutter, as we have seen Korax do on several occasions. You wait, and in the stillness of this church, the only sounds being from your companions, Mina and Antares, perhaps moving around, the ruffle of a cloak, the click of a heel on a tiled floor, and you hear nothing. The nothing extends for a few breaths, and for a moment, you're not sure what you expected to hear. Did you honestly expect to hear a god respond to your call? Have you ever heard that before? Were you expecting some kind of a sign? What sign would be enough to convince you? And as the seconds stretch on into minutes and the silence grows ever wide in that gap of time, you realize that there is no sign to be coming. There is no voice in your head saying, "The gods are alive, the gods are dead, the gods are here with you." There is nothing. And as you have resigned yourself to perhaps a lack of answer being the answer, and you decide to stand and maybe make your own fate, as you put one hand on your knee to sort of hoist yourself up to your full height, your eyes sort of glance down at the tile before you, and written between where your knees once were, as if written by a finger in the dust and dirt that has collected in this corner of the temple, are the words, "Who are you?" with a question mark.
He pauses for a moment, reaches down, scratches out the "Who are you?" and he just writes Korax beneath it. Takes 2 steps back and waits.
And as you watch, hoping for perhaps another answer, you just see your name scrawled in dust and debris and dirt on the floor. And under the door, from the entrance of the double doors of the temple, a small gust of wind sort of blows in and ruffles the dirt and sort of scatters a few of its crumbs across the word that once was Korax and is now just dust and debris. Who left that note for you and whether or not it was heard, you're not sure.
As that happens and the name disappears, he looks around, writes back, and back where it said Korax, he writes, "A new god!" Exclamation mark, and turns around and walks off.
Okay. We all see the camera follow Korax as he walks to another part of this temple. And Terry's, this is your first time outside of the Nightlands. This is your first time seeing an actual sunset. The few moments of sunset you did see. This is not your first time being in an ancient temple. This is not your first time being surrounded by adherents. What are you doing in this moment?
She followed Mina and Stephanie and Dreshen and the baby back into the barracks. Yeah, this is not the first time she's been surrounded by adherents in a temple, but it's the first time that it's been under these circumstances. And she is walking numbly. Like, she feels like she can't even feel her legs. Like, she doesn't know how she got into the room. And there's like bunk beds or beds set up around. I think she goes to off to the side of one, and she just like sits very stiffly on the edge of the bed. Probably her back is to the others. And she's just, if you could see her face, she probably looks like she's in shock. And she doesn't say anything. You're muted.
There's a moment of stillness, and you can hear like soft coos and noises coming from Stephanie, who is dealing with the child, Arua. And as she gets the child settled in and properly swaddled and encased in a bed in which she won't fall out of, there are a few soft like of footprints in slippers as she walks over towards you and Terry's, and reaching through the bunk bed as you sort of sit back to her on the bottom one. She places one hand on one of the columns and reaches underneath and sort of puts a soft hand on your shoulder, and she just says, "Are you okay?"
When she puts her hand on her shoulder, she doesn't react. And she's just sitting there, like, hands folded, like, in her lap. And she's just, like, staring off. And then she says what she says, and I think I made a mistake. And she says it quietly.
I don't understand. You haven't done anything yet.
I think I made a mistake coming here.
Why?
They're not gonna let me. They're not gonna let me find my redemption, work for my redemption. This is a temple to the adherents, isn't it?
As far as I understand.
And she kind of like exhales a breath, kind of like she just like got the wind kind of taken out of her. I've killed so many of them. I'm not gonna get my chance. This shouldn't have come.
Who? You killed who?
Them? The adherents? There's so much of their blood on my hands. And so many divines. And she looks down at her hands, like the first time like she's actually like moved her gaze, and she looks down at her hands. There's just too much.
There's always time.
They're not going to give it to me.
Who won't?
Whoever's here. They're gonna find out that I'm here. And Terry's favorite of the Lumriel. And she finally closes her eyes.
There's like a glance back, and Mina, you sort of catch her eye for a second, and she quickly returns back to Antares. The only person that can give you your redemption is you. If you truly wish to change, then there's always time. You can't undo what you've done in the past, but you can move forward. You can be something else, someone else.
That's what I want.
You're traveling with such special companions now, and you've done everything you could for myself and my daughter. That doesn't sound like the person you're describing.
But will it be enough that they will let me... that they'll let me try?
I don't know. But you can't give up before you know. If you say that the answer is no before you ask the question, you'll never know what they would have said.
I've never even seen the sun.
Well, in a few hours, you'll see it for the first time. And you can think of that, and she's like sounds a little bit more chipper or bright. You can think of that as the first page in a new chapter.
First page, new chapter.
The
new beginning.
The Antares under the sun.
And she expels a really long breath, a very shaky breath.
And you can feel like the springs, or not the springs. It's not the fucking 20th century. You can feel the change in pressure on the bed as the weight of someone else sitting on it. She's not in front of you. She's still sort of to the side, and you can feel that like. I guess perhaps Antares wouldn't know what it felt like, but it's a very matronly, like, she's rubbing your back like you would do to a sick child. And she just sort of sits there and lets you sigh and breathe into your opened palms as she just sort of rubs your back. And she slowly catches Mina's eye like, your friend's not doing okay. Kind of look as she rubs your back, letting you have that moment of silence as you sort of process all these new emotions that you have finally had time to think about. And with that gaze, okay, go ahead.
She glances like when she touches her like that, she just glances over, like she doesn't move away, but Stephanie probably feels her tense underneath her hand.
Mm-hmm. And she just keeps rubbing your back until hopefully that tension fades. And the camera follows her gaze over to Mina, who also has his first chance to take a breath in quite some time. Mina, the baby is asleep. Stephanie seems tended to. Dreshen is gone. And Korax is outside praying. What are you doing?
I think Mina's taking the first time in a long time to, I guess, tend to his clothes. And he pulls out his sewing kit, pulls off his shirt and armor and just slowly going through the motions of any rips and tears, any cuts, just repairing all those. Doing his best not to look like he's listening in on what's happening with Antares and Stephanie, because this isn't an Antares he knows how to deal with. Combative Antares is much easier to deal with than feels Antares, and so he's just minding his own business, trying not to make it too obvious that he's in the room and make it any more awkward.
Okay. This continues for some time as you quietly try to breathe as silently as possible, try not to nick a finger, and just try to slowly and quietly stitch any holes or tears or rips in your clothes as this conversation sort of fills the space in the room. It is an empty barracks-style chamber in what once was a chapel, so the voices do carry, whether you wanted to listen to them or not. And Terry, as you have a question?
Sorry. Eventually she will, I don't know how long, maybe like 10 minutes, maybe, she'll finally speak. If Stephanie's still there.
Yeah, she stays there and just continues to rub your back.
She's like, I guess we have to get you to your family, don't we?
Yeah.
You've been on this journey, well, just as long as everyone else, not counting me. You must be tired of it. You want to go home.
The hand stops moving. Yeah, yes, I would like to settle down.
Is Arua's father here?
No.
No. Sorry, that was very, very personal. Sorry, I didn't.
It's fine.
Is he not? Is he dead?
I don't know.
And she'll actually turn her head and like look at her. Do you need help finding him? Is that something you want?
No, if he wants to be found, he'll be found. I've never really considered looking for him.
And she kind of looks her, gives her like looks her up and down a little bit, and then just nods. I understand. Sorry, I asked. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable again.
I have to be honest about something.
She looks at her.
And as she says this, that's about the time that Korax is done praying and sort of heads this direction. I don't have I don't have family in Samora.
And why did you ask to come here?
It's not the Nightlands.
Korax shrugs in the door and just walks up to sit in a bed.
Yeah, you see a very sincere Antares and Stephanie sitting on a bed together, and you see Mina is not, I imagine, not on the bed, but in between two bunks, trying to be as small as possible with a pile of clothes and sewing instruments.
He's crouched out, pretending to be a basket.
Yeah. As you shrug and walk down the aisle of beds here, she says, "It wasn't the Nightlands. I didn't really know what else to say. I said it. I told them," and she you can't see, but she sort of nods towards the boys. I told them that I had family here and that I would go see them and that I would be safe, and they refused to let me go alone. So
they did something right.
Oh,
and she mutters that under her breath.
They did a lot. They did their best.
Yeah. So, what do you want? What do you want to do now that you're here?
I don't really know. I think Dreschen is talking to somebody about me staying here. About providing help. I figured I would figure it out when I got here.
And she kind of looks over her shoulder for the first time, and where is Dreschen?
He was speaking to a woman in a different room. That was the last I saw of them.
Miss Dreschen's, he's adherents, isn't he?
I think so, yeah. He seemed to know exactly what to say to get in here and to get us safety.
Great.
Is that a problem?
No. It's not a problem.
It's no more of a problem than it was 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Oh.
I just kill everybody he knows.
Well, maybe
For
he didn't.
shits and giggles.
Maybe he didn't know them.
Jesus. What did he tell them? She stops for him. He said he told them about our plight. What did he tell them?
I don't know. I didn't think it was polite.
Did he tell? Do you think he told them about Arua and what she is?
I don't know. After he told us where to go, and that we could stay here, he said something about we're only allowed here in the temple, and then I saw him disappear behind a door with a woman, and I don't know what happened after that.
And she turns and looks, and she glances back at Mina and Korax.
You guys can all hear this conversation.
Korax is watching the conversation, and as she looks up, he goes, "Safe to assume they know."
Well, we've managed to keep your secret as long as we possibly could. So maybe you will be safe here because no one else knows what your secret is. About Arua, that is.
How did you meet Dreshen?
I met him in the tavern.
Did he just approach you, or did you approach him?
No, I approached him. I had been having dreams. That's where I saw you, and you and Seydlitz and the young woman that you were with. I had seen all of you in my dreams. I don't know how to explain this. I had been seeing dreams that I had been having dreams that something bad was coming. Was following me. I was running from something I didn't really understand, and I saw fighters or defenders or something, beings of light. It was as if your whole body was made of light, and there were dozens of them, and sometimes I could make out their faces. The four of you, well, the two of you, Seydlitz and the young woman, you were the faces that I made out the clearest, and I think that meant that you were the closest. Dreshen came to me when I needed help. He was there in the tavern, and he took me to the keep. I explained to him what I saw, and that was all he needed. He took off trying to find you.
And the reference to the Redeemers of the Afterworld, is that something that you told him, or was that something he said?
I said it. I don't. It was all dreams, so I don't know. I haven't had them since. I think, and her eyes sort of cast over to Arua for a second. I think it was because of the pregnancy, but I don't know what else to call you. You were beings of light. You were good. You seemed good, and you were fighting back or holding off darkness. For some reason, Redeemers of the Afterworld just felt like the right thing to call you.
He nods.
A little bit.
The fact that it's not a name that he gave us, and he looks to Antares, doesn't necessarily mean that everything is good where we sit. But it also doesn't mean that we're in danger.
I don't think you guys are in danger here.
I don't think any of us are in danger here. If he wanted to hand you in, he would have done it already. You saw the Redeemers, Reconciliators in the streets. It wouldn't have taken much for him to shout to a single one of them. And he didn't.
Well, no one in their right mind would turn me over to the reconciliators.
Why not? There's 10,000 moons in it.
Because they will just as quickly take you as a collaborator. They don't need a reason or proof.
Mm,
No one in their right mind would do it, but they could turn me into the High Council of the Adherents, and I could face their judgment.
which one's judgment would you rather face?
She doesn't answer for a moment. They're both completely different.
One of them specifically goes out to kill people. The other one doesn't. I know which one I would rather be judged by.
If it was anyone else but me.
Well,
And she will finally lean forward and just put her head in her hands.
I can think of 4 other people who'd be in a similar or worse situation. Sorry, 3 other people.
What do you mean?
Well, there's R, there's E, and then there's Mummy. They wouldn't be in a great position.
She lifts her head up and looks. You think yeah, me getting captured doesn't affect them at all.
It doesn't. But if they were here in your shoes, they are not repentant against what they've done.
If they were here in my shoes, you would all be dead right now. And Arua would be back already in Corso. Under the light of the tower.
I don't know. Mina's pretty good with his spear and shield. I have faith in him.
He does. He prayed to me.
And it worked.
Well, you better keep praying.
Gotten me this far.
And with that, the sun is fully set. You are back in the darkness that you are oh so accustomed to, especially Antares. And whether comfortably or not, most of you drift to sleep, I would assume. Seydlitz probably the most comfortable of all, back in his own bed, I would imagine. But the morning comes. There's a knock on a wooden door in the residential section of of Samora. Well, you guys want to go biblical? Let's figure it out.
If it's Gamora, where's Thanos?
Yeah, right. A knock on a door in the residential area of Samora. The door opens. There's a short conversation between a young woman and a well-dressed man. The door closes, and a knock on your bedroom door, Seydlitz.
You can come in.
Your sister opens the door and pokes her head in. Are you expecting a guest?
Is there someone here to see me?
There's someone here to request your presence.
I'm not expecting anyone.
Um,
What'd he say? Is that it?
He said that you're needed in the temple district at your earliest convenience.
Oh. It's probably my it's probably my traveling companions that I was with. They probably need something.
Why would a Samoran noble come to get you?
Seydlitz eyebrow lifted that. It's like a noble, huh? Then I guess it isn't anyone I know. Let me go hear him out.
He's outside the door.
Let me go hear him out. See what he needs.
Do you do anything special before you head down there, or are you just sort of throwing some clothes on and headed down?
Well, he's grabbing it, and he's grabbing his pack. See if he might need it.
Okay. You make your way down there. By the time you get down there, your sister is in the kitchen. She is making breakfast for the kids who are still asleep. You open the door, and they're standing. Tall, back straight, arms sort of crossed, is a middle-aged gentleman, probably around the same age as you. Little gray in the beard, less unruly, more well-kempt, sort of chiseled goatee, mustache. And he is wearing a magister's robe. He has like wide pauldrons on there that are like a separate sort of cowl, and the robe is like red with gold and silver accents. And he sort of stands there, arms crossed. He gives a left and a right as he waits for the door to open, and he says, "Ah, yes. You are being summoned to the temple district. If now is your earliest convenience, I will escort you there immediately."
Do you state what business they need me for first?
Not in the street.
Selena, I'm going out for a little bit.
Okay, please come back safe and alive. Or at least alive. And there's like the sound of sizzling food in a pan as you close the door behind you. He says, "Is there anything else you need here? I don't know when they'll be done with you."
No, I've got all I need.
Well then, this way. And please keep quiet about anything you may have seen over the last few weeks. And he sort of like nods to you as in like a "you should know what I'm talking about" kind of way. And without waiting for your response, he turns on his heel, and you can actually hear his heel click together, and he begins to almost march down the streets. He is walking at a pretty quick pace. If you're not gonna put a little hop in your step there, you'll quickly be left behind. But you can see his red cloak sort of bobbing as he moves. And unless you say anything to him, he walks silently. The only change he makes is that when he turns around, his arms go from being crossed in front of him to behind him and clasped at the wrist, and he continues to walk with his arms behind him the entire way. And as he does, you can see there are people, it's a busy street, right? People sort of move out of the way, or at least it seems like that from behind him. He seems to weave in and out of this crowd as if there isn't a crowd there. What are you doing as you follow this man?
Seydlitz is watching the crowd, sees like who, if people are watching them, take note of who, and just trying not to get too much attention, wondering what the heck this is all about.
Okay. Roll me an intelligence, difficulty 3. Any kind of discerning danger or anything like that would help you here.
Identifier assessing danger.
Yep.
Apply an effort to the roll.
Okay. As you walk down the street, you're sort of assessing where people are looking. No one seems to be looking at you. This ostentatious man who is leading you through the streets, anyone who looks in your general direction, their eyes seem to be drawn to him. And their eyes almost cast over you as if you're not even there. as he weaves his way through. Eyes sort of just glance at him and then right over where you would be, and no one seems to really take any notice of you, as if this person possibly takes up so much room in the street that you are just a mere shadow in his presence. As he weaves his way through this sea of people, you find yourself back at a familiar temple district and standing outside of a familiar temple. This you know to be the Temple of the Adherents. He unclasps his hands behind him. One of them moves in front of him and he just sort of waves. You are requested inside.
I have one question.
Yes.
How did you know where I lived?
You went home yesterday.
So you followed me.
Well, we have agents throughout the city of Samora.
Why does the temple have to act so shady?
Because the empire to the south of us seeks us out and kills us.
He was walking away as he said that.
He says it loud enough for you to hear. As you enter into the temple itself, you are met with the same sort of stained glass windows and the ancient temple, the disused temple. You see a similarly dressed person. In fact, if you didn't know better, you see the same exact person standing there as he's raising a hand to knock on the door to the barracks. And Korax, Mina, and Teres, you all hear.
Is this in the morning?
It is.
I think she jumps up like she's sleeping on her bed in her clothes, like almost in a fetal position. And then as soon as the door, the knock comes, she rolls up and jumps up.
I imagine Antares would have picked like the door, the bed closest to the door for some reason. Like if anyone came in, you'd be the first to jump to your sword. So yeah, you absolutely roll out of bed. In half in the fetal position, it's just the rest of the way over into the attack position. But the door stays closed. It was a curt knock, and no one enters.
And so she's like this, and she's like to Seydlitz and
Korax.
Sorry, Mina and Korax.
Mina just looks over and says, "Are you going to get that, princess, or expecting one of the servants to do it?"
Isn't that why she jumped up?
I'm not opening the door. Are you kidding me?
Well, someone has to open the door.
She grabs the hood and she puts it up and she backs away from the door.
So jumpy. And Korax walks to the door and just opens it. Hello?
You see a middle-aged man, chiseled mustache, goatee, same wide pauldrons, red and gold and silver accents on his robe, arms crossed in front of him, and he says, "Your presence is requested immediately in the temple."
He's in the doorway, so everyone inside can see him.
Mm-hmm.
And Teres is turned away, so he can't see her.
Korax nods, looks back to Mina. Do you approve of his poofy shoulders?
I mean, it's not for the battlefield, but I guess in a temple, you're not. Maybe you will get stabbed, but less likely.
Perfect. And Korax, as he walks past, claps him on the shoulder onto his poofy shoulder.
You clap him on the shoulder, and these pauldrons don't move. You clap on them, and whatever this is a rigid, like, shoulder pad. Although it looks like it's cloth. It doesn't make like a metal sort of tang, but like it does, like it makes a sound. As you, he's sort of just like almost like he's a door. He just pivots on his heel and opens up the passageway for you to go. As you walk out into the temple proper, you see a grumpy bedhead having Seydlitz just standing in the temple, trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. Mina and Teres, what do you do?
Mina kind of heads towards the door, looks over at Antares, says, "Are you coming?"
She glances at Stephanie. And if she's awake, even
She is.
It's like Antares is like frozen there, like she doesn't know what to do.
The presence is requested for just the three of you. At your earliest convenience, please.
And so she meets her eye for a moment, then her eyes drop, and then she slowly, stiffly walks out with her cowl up and her head kind of down.
Mina follows.
Miss, you're inside of a building, and everyone here has seen your face.
She pulls it down very, very gruffly, but she still keeps her head down. Not like down, but her. Actually, no. After she takes a moment, she pulls the cowl down roughly, as in like fucking fine. That they're just that kind of attitude, and then she straightens and she walks out.
Okay. As Mina follows you out the door, he closes it behind you. And you see, from the opposite side of the room, the door that you guys had all entered into opens, and if you knew any better, you saw the exact same person standing there. The two of them sort of walk together, and they both stand on either side of the door that you saw Dreschen go into that night, and one of them opens the door fully for you. The one on the opposite side says, "Please, at your earliest convenience." And he motions to the interior of the room.
Korax looks to Mina. That's what twins are supposed to look like. See, the same.
Yeah, but if I look like Rhea and Rhea look like me, that would just be weird.
I mean, it would be, but see, the same. And he just walks off.
Okay. Do the rest of them
Antares will
follow?
be the last one to go.
Okay.
Who made their clothes? They look awful. You all don't have any sense of aesthetic.
Fancy is the aesthetic. They look noble. So as you all lead into the room, and Terry's being the last one, as you cross the threshold, like as your second heel crosses the threshold, the door is closed behind you. And you hear, and Terry, since you're right there, like you're literally like, if you moved, your ass would hit the door. You hear the metal shifting, and you hear a click click of a key in a lock. And you hear on the other side, it's a weird, it's like as if two people are talking at once, but they're saying the exact same thing in tandem. You will be let out at your earliest convenience. And the door at the other end of this room opens, and out walks Dreschen. And Dreschen is flanked by two guards, you'd guess. Some sort of like maybe mercenary or military-esque. Like they carry themselves in a way that like Mina and Antares you would be familiar with. Like the way that they have straight back, pulled back shoulders. They both have a small short sword at their side, and they're dressed in not like a uniform, but like definitely leathers of some kind that would be less for traveling and more for protection. They don't match, but they just definitely have like some sort of armor. They come out behind him, and they flank to the opposite sides of the door, and then a woman exits the room. Those of you who were paying attention in the previous night, you would know this is the woman that Dreschen was talking to when he sort of dismissed you all at the end of the night. And she is in very elegant robes. She is in like a white robe trimmed in gold, with like long sleeves at the cuff, that sort of trail as if like the whole thing is just sort of like a flute. It flutes out. It flares in every direction.
She's like Galadriel.
Yeah, that's perfect. She looks like a very Galadriel-esque robe. And atop her head is probably like a 6-inch tall hat, that is also the same white with gold trimming, almost like papal in nature. And she glides out behind him. And she says, "Dreschen has brought you here under the care of the adherents. I have been informed of your deeds, past and present. your purpose in the city and your assistance with the child in the next room. I am aware as much as I can be of your history, and you can see for a second her eyes flit to Antares, and the deeds you have performed in the name of adherence, and her eyes flit to Corax. You now here are under the protection of my temple. This city is not safe for you or your kind. What do you plan to do with that knowledge?
She looks at the boys.
Not safe, then how are you still here?
I am not one of you.
That depends on how safe Arua is.
A child is easier to hide.
We do attract trouble.
Yeah,
So
that's an
I have
understatement.
heard.
If you can assure Arua's safety and Stephanie is comfortable with it, we don't need to stay in the city.
She'll be safe under our care for a time.
And then?
And then she will be on her own.
How long is a time?
It differs with each of you. Look at yourselves. Look at your ages.
What about Stephanie?
Stephanie will be safe as long as she wishes to stay here. She is not like you either. She is in no danger in the city.
She kind of like half turns away, and she realizes that her hand was on the hilt of her sword again, as per always, and she doesn't move. She doesn't remove it. She just takes note that she didn't notice it before. And again, she just looks at the boys. What do you want to do?
Like I said, if they can guarantee Arua's safety, and that's something that Stephanie wants, there's nothing keeping me in Samora. In fact, it's probably safer if at least a couple of us move on.
Sorry, Mike, did she say that we weren't safe here or that we're not welcome here? Like, what
Not
was the wording?
safe.
Not safe. Okay.
I mean, technically we were charged with bringing Stephanie and Arua here. We didn't need to keep them safe once we got you.
She
That's for
she
family
cuts
to
her
do.
eyes at Corax. Did you not hear what she said?
Who?
Was he not in the room when she said that?
Which bit?
How she says she doesn't have family here. She said she wanted to come. Okay.
He was in the room.
Okay. She cuts her eyes at Corax. She doesn't have any family here. She just said Samora to get out of the Nightlands. She has nobody.
He's better than the Nightlands.
I mean, she has Dreschen, and Mina will kind of look over at Dreschen and just say,
Does she?
He's the dad, right?
As you say,
No.
she that's so aggressive. As you say, she has Dreschen and point over towards him. Perhaps it is the first time you've actually taken a second to look at Dreschen, because he's sort of wallpaper for you guys. He looks very different.
I look at him.
Do you? He
I
looks
do.
he looks very different. His hair is actually pulled back neatly in like a bun, which gives him a much more youthful look than the old man you have been harassing for weeks now. His bedraggled, his bedraggled beard is shaved down close, and all of his travel-worn clothing has been replaced. He's not in finery, but he's definitely in much nicer clothes. And strung at his waist is you can see that there is perhaps a whip. There's something wound at his waist, and you can see the hilt of something sticking out at the small of his back, like it's horizontal across his belt. He just stands there.
And how old does he look now that he's all...
Now that he's cleaned up, he looks probably a good 5 to 10 years younger.
Seydlitz age?
About Seydlitz age. So yeah, probably in his 30s, as opposed to in his late 40s, early 50s. He just stands there, doesn't say anything when you mention him.
Personally, I'd rather stay here. It's my home.
So can the temple offer us the same protection as the child?
The temple can offer you several things. The protection we extend to the child does not extend to you, unless you join the adherents.
A look comes across her face, but she quickly stifles it. It's like, and she stands half turned away, like she's not face to face to them.
Mina will look at Corax and say, "Is joining the adherents something we want to do? You know more about it than we do."
Orax looks up to the lady who's been speaking to us and says, "Until yesterday, I would have said yes. I would have said I would have done anything to be in this temple and join.
And
But now I'm not sure."
What has shaken your faith?
Questions about the old gods. Do they still exist? Or are they truly dead? Have all my prayers been answered by new gods? Is worshipping the old ones worthwhile if they're all dead?
We cannot answer these questions for you. Time will tell.
But what do you believe? Your adherents, obviously you have thoughts on the matter.
The adherents believe that the old gods will return, that our prayers may not be heard in the capacity in which they were several decades ago, but they are still heard, and when the gods make their triumphant return, they will be heard again, and they will be answered in kind. Until such time, we keep the faith alive.
But out on the Corax, what if the old gods are gone, but it's their power that's carried on via a new god? Would that not be the same thing?
That would be like saying the child is the same as the parent. And if the parent was no longer around, that the child would be a substitute. It's not quite the same. Similar. They may be similar. But a prayer to Mina, and he points to Mina, being answered and doing the same as a prayer to Xenia? That doesn't seem right to me.
Why not? What about a prayer to Antares? Maybe
mean-
it's the specific power. Maybe it's. I don't know where I'm going with this, but maybe it's like, maybe Mina there's inherited the power of your god Xenia.
No, I think it was very different. I mean, I was asking for.
I'm
to
not a big
stop
fan of dirt and stuff.
Yeah, Xenia's the Earth Shaker. Xenia made the mountains.
Mina will look at the adherents and say, so what does your faith say about us? What are we?
You see motion out of the corner of your eye as Dreshen sort of shifts his weight from one leg to the other leg. The woman before you sort of cracks a very thin smile. She says, Korax, pragmatic and cynical. Mina, hopeful and idealistic. And Teres, distrusting and guarded. And Seydlitz, stoic yet jaded. The four of you have been described to me by your traveling companion, and the smile sort of like lifts on one side into a smirk as she looks over at Dreshen.
Awkward.
I understand your travels here. I understand what you have come to think or believe, what you are currently capable of, and what potential you might bring. What I believe will not help you be more or less safe in the city. It is what you choose to do and what you choose to believe. This city was never safe from the moment you left Corso, and every step you took towards it became increasingly less safe. Not because you are here, but your presence does nothing to increase its safety. There are dangers that lurk inside Samora. There are dangers that are marching on their way to Samora. If you would pose one of these dangers, then we would kindly ask you to leave. If you would ignore these dangers, and her eyes glance over to Seydlitz, then we would nicely ask you to leave this temple. If you would defend this city and the borders that extend beyond it into the runescape, that we'd welcome you to join the adherents. If you pass the exam.
I'm pretty smart. I'm sure I can pass your exam.
What if I choose the last option, not because I want to join you, but because I live here, so I'd have an interest protecting it anyway?
Your reason is your own.
If the city's in danger, I'll do whatever I can to protect it.
Including joining a cult of heretics?
My personal safety or beliefs don't mean anything if it means protecting people. I'll join the Dragon of Corso if it means the city's going to be safe.
Korax scoffs at that.
Mina. No, you won't.
No, I'm with her.
Just a saying.
It's not a very good one.
I guess that means yes. If I can pass this test of yours and you'll have me, I'll join if it means protecting the city.
If you wish to join the adherents, please step this way. And she steps forward and to the left and out of the door frame that she was blocking and sort of motions you into a dark doorway.
Mina, just head straight through the door.
She steps back in, replacing what would be the door as Mina disappears into darkness. The rest of you? Where do you stand?
Though I'd like to stay behind, I cannot. I still have unfinished business with my past I need to go find.
The rest of you?
I am not taking your test.
Corax.
Corax looks to Antares. I mean, I can help you study if you needed to, but sure. By joining, would you be honest about the gods, and would I be able to glean more knowledge from people here and honest answers about magic and how things work that the people here at least know, or would that be hidden from me?
I have never been dishonest with you from the moment you walked in my temple. I will continue to do so, and you will have access to whatever information we have.
Sounds good. And he starts to walk towards the door.
She again steps forward and out of the way as you, Seydlitz and Antares, you watch him disappear into darkness. She resets back in front of the door, and her eyes sort of cast between the two of you.
She glances at Seydlitz. Are you going?
See, shakes his head no.
I thought you wanted to protect your family.
I do, but I have unfinished business elsewhere.
Seydlitz,
You don't.
we have eyes and ears in the city. We have eyes and ears, as many places as we can put them. What if I told you that we could assist you with the depths?
Those depths hold many mysteries that I doubt even you know of. I know little, but I still have to go anyway. There is only one man that has those answers, and he won't talk.
What if he did?
Unless you're willing to scale the Kraken to get him, I'd rather not.
Is that what it will take?
I think I'm going to turn down your offer.
That is your choice. Daughter of the Dragon, I understand your misgivings, your distrust. What have you to lose? You're already branded a heretic. You're already wanted. Nothing changes if you take our test.
I was raised my entire life that you were my enemy. It just doesn't seem right to me.
And
Hypocritical, even.
we have lived our lives cowering fear of the shadow that you and your mother and your siblings cast. The favored of Nelemriel are known even here in Samora. The power they wield, the destruction they cause, the lives they have taken, and yet you stand before me and I offer you a choice to join. You see us as an enemy, and yet we have only defended ourselves against you. So if anything, you are an enemy to us, and yet I offer you admittance.
I guess I just don't understand why. I know I'm your enemy. That
You're here.
I didn't know I was coming here.
Doesn't matter. You're here. You have companions that are like you. You have defended a child who is like you.
That can't be enough. That can't be all it takes.
Why?
And she kind of like just lets out a really big sigh and kind of just like, why won't you punish me for the sins that I've and the horrors that I've done to you and your people?
Do you seek punishment? Or do you seek salvation? One can forgive the wrongdoings without causing the same pain originally inflicted. Why do you seek to be hurt? I offer you a path to salvation. The choice is yours to take it or to find your own way. I assure you, my way, whether you like it or not, will be far less painful. It's up to you to decide what you seek: redemption or punishment.
And she drops her gaze and doesn't look at her for a moment. And she doesn't really know what to say. I feel like to her, those two things were synonymous. In order to gain redemption, she had to be punished for it.
She stands there. The whole room is silent unless either one of you say anything.
I want redemption. Salvation. Whatever's left.
She nods to you, a very slight nod, and she takes a step forward and a step to the left and motions towards the door. That if you'd like redemption and not punishment, enter.
And she slowly walks forward. Very stiffly. And then before she steps through the door, she turns around and glances back at Seydlitz.
Seydlitz gives a slight nod. It's your choice, kid. Hope you made the right one.
Come on. And then she disappears into the door.
She sidesteps back like a Tetris piece back into her place. She says, entrance into the adherents is not mandatory for what must come next, Seydlitz. We can still aid you, although we will not offer you any of the protections we have offered your friends, and the information you get will become third party. However, we can still assist you with what you want.
I have one question.
Yes.
How many divine in the city do you know of?
Including you and your companions? She asks as a question.
Yes.
There is the four of you, the child, the Shaden, our neighbor in the Temple District, and we believe there are the presence of at least 4 additional divine beings, although we have not located them.
And if you cannot locate them, what chaos do you think would ensue?
We are not the caretakers or the babysitters of divinity. We are worshippers of the gods. It is not for us to dictate what they should do. However, there is danger on the horizon. There is something coming. What that is, I am unable to reveal. If you wish to have our assistance without joining, we can make arrangements. We have an oft unused rite known as the Blood Oath. You may take that. You will not get the full extent of our assistance, and you will be monitored to the best of our ability, but we will still aid you as long as you choose to aid us. However, if you are asking that question not but for mere curiosity of our capabilities to track divine, and more for the safety of a particular individual, know that we would extend admittance and our protection to them if you were to join.
I do not think they are old enough to feel like joining, is all I can tell you. But I can tell you this. Of my blood, I am not the only divine.
If they are not of age, then we will show them the same safety as we have shown Arua. And she steps forward and out of the way and motions to the door. The choice is yours.
In my age, people tell me that I'm always too slow to come to decisions.
With age comes wisdom.
And with wisdom comes paranoia. What in lies this test?
Very simple. We have a device. You will put yourself before the device, and we will, pardon my parlance, but divine your true intentions. If you secretly wish to do harm to the adherents, we will know. If you harbor ill will toward the adherents, we will know. And if you act as a spy for our enemies or the dragon, we will know. If not, then you'll be fine. The test is more for our safety than your entrance.
Seydlitz walks up next to her. If that is all you want, then I shall take your test, but I will not join you.
She nods and allows you to walk through the door. The four of you have passed through the door. Each of you find yourself... Oh, no, camera. Each of you find yourself in what you imagine to be a circular room, except there is no one in there except for you. A white light shines down from the center of this room, making like a circular lit portion on the center, but the rest of the room is in darkness. your footsteps echo off the flagstone of the floor, and you can see in the distance these little blue lights every 10 or 15 or so feet that seem to be on either some kind of stanchion or column or something. Depth becomes obscured in the darkness. In the center of the beam of light, you see there is a single stone chair that seems to be part of the ground itself, like part of the flagstone. And on it is an intricately carved series of symbols that sort of run down the back, the seat where the legs are. This is all one solid stone block. They continue down the arms of the chair. And you notice that at the arms of the chair, where the wrist would be, there are brass latches, polished brass latches that seem to be like the top half of a handcuff, as if you were to cuff someone to the chair. And directly below them is a sort of bowl shape. There are matching cuffs at the legs. And that is it. That's all you see. Corax, Mina, as the first to enter this room, what do you do?
Mina just heads over to the chair and sits down.
Okay. As soon as you sit down in the chair, you place your arms on the armchair, the arms, and the brass latch closes, and the leg latches close as well. And you can see that there is a small, like as you sit there, the bowl under your wrist sort of glows, and that sends rivulets up the carving, and the whole carving begins to glow, this like soft yellowish gold sort of color. You can hear the footfalls of a heeled shoe moving towards you, and you see some sort of, waifish figure, thin, wiry, your indeterminate gender, as they walk towards you. They are veiled in a black veil that seems to be part of the entire black ensemble they are wearing, with a gold band around their head. They come to you and wordlessly kneel down on one knee. And you see this, they put their hands together and they slide their hand out. As one of the hands slides out, there is an 11-inch long needle that comes to a point that is so fine you could tailor anything you could imagine with that. This could pierce dragonhide. And they slowly place the needle up to the base of your chin. And there's a beat where they wait a second and allow you to breathe, and before you can say anything, they press it into you. You will take 1 point of might damage, and you feel searing pain rush through your body as you are watching a highlight reel of your entire life flash before you. You see things you forgot, memories that were buried, details that you weren't even sure of in the moment that you are now just reliving as if your life was an IMAX movie. This seems to go on for hours. At least that's what you believe. And when the searing pain stops, this person removes the needle from the bottom of your chin, and you see a single bloop drop of blood leave the tip of this thing and is caught in a small glass vial. This person rises and leaves, and the latches open up. And you see opposite, at least you think opposite of where you came in, another door opens, and you see light spilling into a room.
Mina just gets up and heads towards the door.
Okay. You head towards the door, and you are back in a room that looks nearly identical to the one you left when you were having a meeting. Except there is a table, and there are 8 wooden chairs around them. There's a door on the other side of this as well, and you can tell that the lock is engaged, much like the other room. Corax, the second person to enter the room. You see much the same. The chair, a dark room, the circle of white light. What do you do?
Mina's not in here.
He is not. It's just you.
Corax walks along and brushes his hand along the back of the seat. Looks up to where the light is coming from, realizing There is nothing else to do in this room, and assumes that he must sit.
Okay.
Places his arms on the sides and waits.
As soon as you sit, the latches clasp close, arms and legs. A small, like yellowish white light appears in the bowl, and you see the light begin to like almost move as if like it's like haptic in some capacity, and then the light turns blue, and you see it light up the chair in blue. And you hear those same footfalls on the stone floor as this person comes out with a fully black veil, black outfit, puts their arms together and slides out this enormously sharp needle, this immensely sharp needle, as they kneel down to one knee and place it to the bottom of your chin, giving you a second to breathe. As they stick you in the neck with this needle, you take 1 point of might damage, and again, searing pain rushes through your body. You can feel it in every single nerve ending and places you didn't even think you could feel pain, as you have a fast-forward version of your life. There is a pause in your video replay of your life. It seems as though the moments that include Telbin stretch on for just the barest nanosecond longer than any other second, and then immediately speeds back up once there are no more Telbin scenes. And then the pain stops. You see the person retract the needle from your neck, and a single drop of blood lands bloop into a small lead phial as they stand up and walk away. The chair unclasps, and you are left alone in this room.
As they are standing up to walk away, Korak just says, "Thank you. That was entertaining." And he gets up.
There is, as you would expect, no response from them. And as you stand, you hear a creak of a door open to the what would I guess be like the north of you, which is behind the chair. You hear this noise come from.
He turns to look at the door, and as it opens, he makes his way through it.
Okay. You make your way through the door, and you see a chair. You see a table, and there are 7 chairs at this table. One of them is missing. There would be 8.
Takes a seat.
Okay. The door closes behind you, and we cut to Antares. As you walk in, you see the exact same thing, this weird room with the white light and the chair. What do you do?
She just looks around first. She was expecting Mina and Korak to be in here, so she takes a moment, and then she will regard the chair. Looks like a kind of like a beginning of a torture device. And so she kind of just like tilts her head, looks at it, and then she slowly goes and sits down.
Okay. As you sit down and place your arms on the armchair, the clasps close, the legs close as well, and you see this golden white light in the bowl begin to bubble and boil, and it turns a bright red, and continues to bubble and boil and begins to darken and to a like dark red as it fills the etchings in this chair. And again, you continue towards as the needle comes out, and again to the neck. You take 1 point of damage, and you feel excruciating pain through your entire body. You have no idea what everyone else's experience was, but you watch a slow, real-time video of your life. You notice that there are gaps. There are no memories displayed from your early childhood. It's hard to tell what age you are seeing here, but the first memory that opens up is you being brought to the tower in Corso. There are no memories before that, and your time at the Tower of Corso, you are already a child, probably 5 or 6 years old. There are nothing. It is completely black before that period of time. and you watch what seems like years you spend in this chair as you watch your life, as you can see and think back on every choice you made, every lesson you learned. You watch relationships with people around Corso. You watch lovers' trysts with both Eltenin and the other one, Restaban. You watch these happen. You watch painful breakups. You watch painful combat, painful training, a series of awful murders, unjustified slaughter. And you relive this moment. Things you had buried behind walls of trauma are now just flooding through your body. And in a second, it is gone. The needle retracts. A small blood drop lands into some sort of metallic vial. And the person stands and walks away. The clasps unlatch, and you are left alone in this room.
I think there are tears just running down her face.
Okay.
And she just doesn't move for a while.
Okay. You eventually hear the metallic shifting and clicking of a lock unlatching, and directly in front of you, a door opens up, and you can see that there's a room on the opposite side.
She looks down and she realizes that her hands are like clenched on the stone, and her nails are probably like broken, like her fingertips are bleeding from gripping it for so hard, and she is just full on, like, the tears are just like streaming down her face.
Okay.
And then she eventually manages to pry her hands off the thing, and then slowly, shakily stands up. She stumbles to the corner of the room and she throws up.
You do. It echoes in this chamber. You sort of stumble around looking for a corner and don't find one. The closest you can find is the either side of the door.
Yeah, it's like she just has her hand on the wall and she just throws up.
Okay.
And then, however long it takes, she eventually just kind of like flops out the door. Type thing.
You flop out of the door. You see a table that would hold 8 chairs, but there are only 6 present. Do you take one?
Are there other people sitting at the chairs?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, she would eventually stumble up to the table and then sit.
Okay. We cut to Seydlitz as you are the last person to walk into this room. You see the exact same scene before you, the chair, and the white light. What do you do, Seydlitz?
Does it smell like vomit in here?
It does not. It smells like nothing. It is an echoey stone chamber. No smells, no sounds. It is like a tomb.
It's just going to look at this chair. He's kind of walk up to look at it. Just kind of take in what it looks like. He's going to just shout, "Do I have to sit in it?"
No response comes back to you.
Silence is an answer in its own way. Let's get this over with. He sits in the chair knowing full well that he really doesn't want to.
Okay. The latches close again. You see this gold light below your wrists, and it turns to this, like, murky, sort of muddy green as it lines up the etchings on here. And you hear the same footfalls on flagstone. The same scene we've seen before. You take 1 point of damage, and pain racks your body as you see your whole life flash before you. However, much like what happened with Corax, every moment that involves the years after your father's disappearance are slowed down by just the barest, almost imperceivable second. And any moments related to your niece are slowed down by the same barely perceivable millisecond. And then you are free. A single drop of blood lands in a small wooden box, and the person rises and walks away into the darkness. The latches unclasp, and you are left in this room.
I would like to recall that whole thing. What about the moments of Seydlitz's mother?
They were fast forwarded as if normal.
Seydlitz goes and finds the exit, sighing with a general idea of why did I agree to this.
As you stand and start to take a step forward, it looks like the same direction you came from. A door opens up, and as you make your way that way, you see a table that would hold 8 chairs, but 3 of them are missing. There are 5 chairs available.
Seydlitz is perplexed by the fact that there are 5 chairs, and he doesn't see his friends.
Mm-hmm.
Well, can I make a check for that?
Well, what are you looking for? What are you trying to do with this check?
Like, why are 3 chairs missing, and where are his companions? Like, something's not right.
Not really a check for this. You don't have any way to divine like the prophecy or anything like that, or see. You can see that the door on the opposite side of this room is locked. None of your companions came back out of the room. Yeah, there's no real clues in here that would help you figure out where your friends were.
Are there any like possible tracks or skid marks for chairs, or
there is not,
like where they pull out this?
Nope, I'll give you that one for free. There are no marks. There's no drag marks on the floor. There's no evidence that anything went wrong in this room. This room looks completely clean. Just a table that would hold 8 chairs. Instead, there are 5.
Yay for paranoid old man. I'm gonna just stand by the table.
Okay. As you stand by the table, the door behind you closes, and the 4 of you feel a very uncomfortable feeling. You feel this pull, this yank, as if coming from the inside of your belly button, as if you are pulled backwards, almost that sort of roller coaster kind of flop feeling, as you are yanked backwards, seemingly to nowhere, despite the fact that your chair never moves. And as that feeling subsides, almost as if that force sort of like is enough to launch you forward, as if you like centrifugal motion sort of stops you. You are at a table. Sitting next to you is Korax, Mina, and Terry's. Sort of hand on the table, a little bit forward, is Seydlitz, not in a chair. The 4 of you are at this table of 8. All the chairs are present. You are all together. And the woman in white stands there in front of the door, as if she was there the entire time. Dreshen looks around at all of you with an almost apologetic look, as he walks around the table, and at the opposite head of the table, he pulls out a chair, sits down, and sort of scooches himself in. You have all passed the test, the woman says from the doorway. Interesting lives you have all led.
If you guys all look over at Terry's, you just see, like, she's not, like, ugly crying or anything like that, but you see, like, there's just tears down her face. And her face is, like, just kind of, like, blank.
Some of you more interesting than others. Some of you revealing new information.
And she looks even more pallid than normal.
All of you truthful and safe. She walks around the table, slides out one of the chairs, and sits next to Antares. Now that you have passed, now that you have passed this little exam, I can reveal to you why you were brought here. You see the two guards, or the two mercenaries or soldiers or whatever they are, walk to the door. One of them opens the door, and you see it is not a room of darkness. It is a relatively nice-looking hallway. And walking towards you is a woman that only some of you may have seen, some of you may have heard of. This is a woman in very fine clothing. However, the first thing that stands out to her is that she has the head of a snake, and she is a Sleen. She walks towards you, and as you can see, as she walks by the candle, the sconces in the wall, a glint around her head as she walks towards you in this regal finery. She sort of dips her head and her neck sort of coils in as she ducks under the doorway, and she stands to her full, relatively imposing height. And the woman looks to her. One of the guards removes the last chair as if pulling it out for her. And she says, I present you Queen Etain. And that is a good time to end this episode.
No, it's not. It is not.
I feel like it is. I feel like it's a
Fuck
pretty
you,
good
Mike.
time.
That is not a good place to end.
I feel like the Queen of Samora is a pretty good time to end this episode, guys. I think it's a pretty solid cliffhanger. Welcome to the second arc of the Rise. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Oh man, I'm excited for this after show. Yeah, so that was episode 16 of The Rise, Hoist the Colors. Spelled incorrectly, of course.
That's correct.
Yeah, so let's go around, do some outros, and then start this after show. I feel like there's some questions we might have about this one. So we'll start in the top of my screen here with Chris. Who are you? Where can we find you? What are you up to?
Hi, I'm Chris, aka Necro. You can only find me in the Discord, nowhere else. And everyone should be proud that Mike is learning to spell correctly.
Wow. Okay. Let's see what we're doing here. Norm, who are you? Where can we find you? And what are you up to?
I'm Normal Snow. You can just find me in the Discord and one-shots next week, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. G, same questions?
I'm G, your friendly neighborhood lightning invoker. You find me in the Discord, modding for during the week on all things unMadeGaming and in all the things Patreon. And you can follow me on Twitter, lightningspaz09.
All right. And last but not least, Matt, take us home. Who are you? Where can we find you? What are you up to?
I'm Matt or D, and you can find me in Mike's Discord and nowhere else except for these campaigns and one-shots. Well, actually, you probably could find me one more place now, on the road.
That's true. That's true. You officially passed. Fan-freaking-tastic. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Don't worry, that corruption bar will get used next week. I have a perfect idea for it. We just didn't have enough time to cover it this week. So that's it from us. We're going to get out of here. We're going to do the after show. If you guys want access to that after show, check it out over on Patreon. Join us at the $5 tier. While you're clicking on that link down there below, click on that Discord link. Join us in the Discord. Be a part of the community. Be a part of the conversation. But for now, that's all we have for you today. We're out of here. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.